Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. This is a weekly podcast for anyone who loves The Simpsons, or ever has loved The Simpsons, hosted by two dudes that grew up on The Simpsons. My name is Miles, better known as Mr. Most Days Off, and today we have, well, first of all, we've got a great episode, but we have the return of The Streak. We haven't missed a season with this man. I'll introduce him later. You know who he is at this point. We'll get back around to him. Just in case you're bored with him, we also have a first-time guest who's here to talk to us so that we'll have at least something fresh for everybody out there. And, of course, joining me, as always, your co-host with the most, Richie the Whiz Kid. How you doing today, Rich?
I'm wondering why we have, pretty much all the drastic camera angles. We've got Miles and Richie who have the straight on one. Then we got Andy where it's almost skybox view up there. I don't know where his camera is. Then we got Zach where it must be right below him. So I it's too much. This is too stimulating for my eyes. I want Zach off the show. Let's just get him
What
off.
the fuck, dude? Wait, why are we starting with the hostility? You know, I remember this is like your birthday show recording because we celebrated your birthday today, and you were an asshole on your birthday last year too. What's up with that?
It's just I'm just sticking up for all the people not named Zach in the world because there's not that many of us. So somebody has to stand up. There's a lot of Zachs out there.
Dozens of us. Yeah. All right. Well, moving on.
No. Let me throw it back to you first, you jerk. Don't take my camera time here. It's been a month since we recorded. We don't remember how to do this. We're trying to get back in the flow of things. So let me go ahead and throw it back to you. The man, the myth. Yes, he tastes like grandma. It is Miles.
Accurate. And speaking of people who taste like grandma, a good friend of mine, and he wanted to make sure that he was introduced as at least one, questionably two-time Nobel Fart Prize winner. Welcome to the show, our good friend, Dr. Andrew Briseno. How you doing today, Andy?
Hey, y'all. How you? It's so nice to be back here for, oh, good Lord, is this the 11th time? You know, I got to be honest. I really expected you guys would have quit by this point.
Same.
So, hey, congratulations in a sense, but, you know.
Also, is everything okay at home is what you were going to say?
Yeah, kind of. You know,
I get it.
I'm great, man. It's so good to be back. And, yeah, I brought with me, since I've been around so long, I get to start doing whatever I want at this point, even if Richie doesn't like it.
Just like at your college, you've got tenure here.
Yeah, exactly. A friend of mine, a dear friend of mine who I've known even slightly longer than I have known Miles, which is wild to think about.
All right, Rich, Zach, I want to get my title back.
Yeah, well. Okay, I'll quit talking to Zach for 3 months, and I think
that's fine.
That's the distance, but you know, no. In either case, he is a dear friend of mine, and I thought that was enough reason. But also, he is in the middle of a really ridiculous Simpsons challenge of his own making, and I thought that that would be a fabulous reason to bring him with you. And so, I would like to introduce to the Best Darn Diddly universe, the one and only Dr. Zack Vandezande.
I am a doctor. I'm not an associate professor. I am a National Endowment of the Arts grant applier. So my challenge to myself when we got a free year at Disney Plus, I don't know why. My wife does things, and then all of a sudden I have a free year of Disney Plus, was I was going to rewatch The Simpsons until the moment Bart dabs. And as soon as he dabs, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm walking away.
I
don't know
dab
if
and done is a good policy.
Dab and done, I think, is a good policy. And I don't know if he dabs. I didn't look it up. If you know, please tell me.
I was going to ask where that came from. I don't know.
I did not realize that. Wait a minute. This is a potential dab?
I don't know if he dabs. I might be watching it until the show ends, or they decide, or I die. I mean,
Disney
we're all going to die.
Plus is gone.
Or Disney Plus
I don't
disappears.
think that's going to happen. I mean, they kind of, honestly, it's a little sus how well the virus, worked in their favor for landing major movie projects and stuff. But that's
Right.
That's a whole different conversation.
But yeah, so I am now on season 20. I just saw the very first episode where they changed, and I like wanted to, hurt someone, I guess. And he hasn't dabbed yet.
So that's
Donkey Kong dabs. Does Bart dab? That's sort of my question.
It's got to be a Bart dab is the only way that you check out The Simpsons.
It's the only way I'm free is if Bart dabs.
What's your time limit on this? Like, when did your year start?
I mean, I started under quarantine. I don't know when that was at this point.
About this time last year.
Summer. I was like,
you're probably close to that shot clock, dude. You better be careful, or your wife is going to have to figure out how to renew for a year.
Well, yeah. I mean, it'll just go on a credit card like so many things that we forget that we have.
Is that her secret?
Right. But yeah, so we started sometime over the summer, and we're like burning through a season a week for a while, and then now it's just sort of background noise because the show has gotten bad. I don't know if you guys know this, but bad coming for you on this podcast.
What? No, when we started
out,
this show, we watched like the seasons 3 to 8 to get like a bearing of what the entire series would be like, and then we had just assumed it's going to be like that the whole way through.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we can trust anybody named User though, so we might have to see for ourselves.
That's true. I did sign up for this. I downloaded this app like 3 minutes before I was supposed to be logged on, so
Perfect.
I'm User.
Perfect. Better than Dabber. That's fine. No, Zach, that's cool. I'm really glad you're here. First of all, I think that's very interesting that you just kind of put this random challenge on yourself with a hypothetical ending. Because I have news for you. The Simpsons is infinitely going at this point. It's probably going to outlive all of us, it would seem. But something that we always like to do on this show, to kind of go back in time a little bit and talk to you about when you started watching The Simpsons and like how it became a part of your life. So first of all, if you don't mind telling us approximately how old you are, and then what your very first memory of The Simpsons is.
Okay, I am approximately 39 years old.
People care, man.
Yeah, I do think it sort of matters for like how you came at The Simpsons, right? And when the Simpsons first aired, like the first season, my parents, who are more religious year over year, were religious enough that they didn't let me watch it. They thought it was, Bart was too sassy, I guess. But all he wanted to eat a pair of shorts, and maybe they were just worried that,
it was more of a choking hazard worry for them than
anything. Right, choking hazard. And she was at that time making some of my clothes, and I felt like maybe she thought it would be disrespectful if I ate those board shorts she made that had like skeleton skateboarding on them. No, jammies. What are they? Jams. They were called jams back then, right? This is just boring.
Tell us a story, Grandpa. No.
One time. Say that's on the point of the story. Onion in the belt. That's all I got.
And
that was the style at the time.
They don't want me to eat a raw onion. And so I started watching it sometime in season 2 or 3. It like sort of the ban was lifted in the household, I guess, when they realized, they go to church.
When you hit the age of 30.
And I like that was the saving grace for the show. It's like, well, they at least respect Sundays. I guess they're okay.
Well, like rewatching it now as like a 39-year-old, it's like, what the fuck were they? Can I say fuck?
Of course you can say fuck. We're not here now. You can say whatever you want, bro.
User.
What were they worried about?
Doesn't mind.
Yeah.
They were like going to church like on the show. They're going to church. They're like worried about their souls. And it's like, what was it? Anyway. But I would watch it. I watched it pretty much straight through. And then when I got to college, I was my sophomore year living with my brother. And my brother was religious and I was not. And it was sort of like the last touchstone we had was we would watch The Simpsons together. And so it was sort of a moment where, once a week, he and I still felt like, we are connected. And so there's something sort of nice about that, right? And revisiting it, like, especially revisiting season 11, which I think sort of tracks. I didn't actually do the timeline of like, these are the episodes I was watching with my brother when we were both figuring out how to be adults. And we were figuring out how to be adults going in very different directions. It's sort of been nice to revisit that. But now I'm in season 20, and it's stuff that's not nice to visit. I checked out of The Simpsons probably around season 14.
Okay.
I think that's probably when a lot of people my age checked out. They were like, well, I have things to do, and I have a 401k now. I don't, but they
right.
did.
I've heard of other people my age having those things. It seems neat.
Right. Whatever. Might I recommend quitting your job every 3 or 4 years?
Job?
It's a good way to sort of vary your life and die in a ditch somewhere later on,
or a basement apartment in DC,
or a basement apartment in DC, which is where I'm recording this from, annoying my upstairs neighbors right now. But you know what? They're stomping around all the time.
What do they wear? Shoes made of wood?
They just wear shoes and are human beings, and I hate them for it. But I think, I sort of like look back at that era of The Simpsons as like sort of like defining my artistic sensibility in a strange way. Of like, you can zag, you can do strange things, you can have heart without it being saccharine. And then eventually you get old and tired and you just churn out another episode like you're the guy who writes Marmaduke every morning.
To put a little bit of sunshine at the end of this arc, I will say that I'm told that it actually picks up again. And I've watched some of the more recent seasons, and I do think there is a bounce back period. But I do think you are in what we would call the thick of things right now, as far as the low point of The Simpsons goes.
Yeah, it is low right now. Like it commanding my attention. You know what I mean? Like I would put on an episode and I'd be like, have my phone with me or have my laptop out. And it would command my attention. Mm-hmm. And now it's just like fully just the background.
Yeah, you like end up like writing something on your phone and realize the episode has ended, and you're like, I think I have an idea of what that was about. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Here comes our special guest, Matt Groening. Welcome him to the show.
Yeah, surprise. So you brought up the connection you had with your brother, and I actually think that's really cool. That is, especially when you talk about you guys being very different people. There is something about The Simpsons that has that kind of glue adhesiveness to it that can kind of bind very different people over, this one common thread that's now been a part of the majority, at least 3/4 or so of all of our lives.
Right.
Just out of curiosity, has this journey that you've put yourself on, have you reached out? Have you talked to your brother at all about like the revisiting of The Simpsons?
No, I mean, we talk here and there, but we're not close. Like, we're sort of Christmas close, you know what I mean?
So maybe around the holidays, you'll bring it up?
Maybe around if I had gone home this Christmas, we probably would have talked about it a little bit. But we do sort of like, it's still part of our language, mm-hmm. right? Like the grammar of like talking to my brother involves, something like props on the grab, booyah. Or I demand satisfaction, like shit like that. And I was actually kind of shocked going back to this episode and rewatching it, how much of that stuff just like stuck in my head. You know what I mean?
We talk about that a lot actually on this show. Like there's so many times where we review an episode of the show, and there's just these, like you said, almost like these little phrases that are meaningless in the moment, or seemingly meaningless in the moment, but they're so funny and so well written. That they just kind of stick with you. You find yourself repeating them. I think you find yourself using them casually in conversation, maybe not even always even realizing that you're doing it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And, now that, I do teach and I'm around people who are like 19, I realized that it's like as though I were quoting All in the Family. Like, it's just like worthless.
No.
But here we are.
Yeah, we had a guest on not too long ago who he teaches in a high school, and we asked him the question, like, is there any, like is there even like the slightest glimpse of Simpsons merchandise? Does anybody wear a Bart Simpson t-shirt ironically? Anything at all? And it's like, no. Like, mm-hmm. I don't think I think if you said The Simpsons in the hallway, they'd be like, that show like old people watch?
Yeah.
So your old family analogy.
Let's not think about
perfect.
that.
Perfect. Awesome, man. Well, that I really like the fact that you told that story about your brother. Honestly, I think that's like just a really great analogy for what The Simpsons can be in so many ways. But moving forward to this episode, the E-I-E-I-Do, I know when we originally talked, and also my apologies for missing last week or 2 weeks or whatever we scheduled, by the way. I had like the worst day, and that's no excuse, but super unprofessional on my part. My bad.
It's a great excuse. No, man. Let's normalize fucking up a little.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine.
I mean, let's just. Yeah, I just personally want to do everything I can to crank down the universal expectation meter.
Well, that's just because you're such a fuck up. You'll feel better about yourself if we all start doing it.
That's just all I'm saying.
No, that's a very healthy mindset, and all serious, like all joking and ripping on you aside. That's a very healthy mindset. So thank you for allowing me that human error. With all that said, I did fuck up pretty good. This episode, E-I-E-I Annoyed Grunt, as it is officially titled, which aired on November. Go ahead?
Can I ask? Y'all think that shit's like too precious by half, right? The annoyed
Love
grunt.
It. Oh my god!
Never
and it's still to this day always written. What's that? You hate it? I love that.
Just say no. As the Dare guys said, just say no.
So what I love about Annoyed Grunt is how it first appeared in the script, and Dan Castellaneta just went like there was no dough. It was just that was the cue, and Dan Castellaneta just created that. And to this day, they don't write dough in the scripts. They write Annoyed Grunt, just because it's Dan's thing, and I do love that. I think that's beautiful.
Like in the writer's room, I would get it, but putting it in the name of the episode, I feel like you fucking asshole. like, you precious motherfuckers.
Am I the only one who, when I read the title, assumed at first that this was going to be a like Tim Allen Home Improvement crossover? Yeah. No? Okay.
They would have been growing a tomacco.
I mean, all I know is that he for sure did bring more power to the game.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess agree to disagree. I love the Annoyed Grunt. I do. I think it's great. I even I said it earlier when I first announced the title. I said E-I-E-I-Do, but I really do often read it all the way through whenever I was like preparing my notes and whatnot. But this episode did air on November 7th, 1999. And I was wondering, both actually, Zach and Andy on this one, was there anything specific about this episode that drew you to it as the reason you wanted to talk about this episode, other than just the date and availability?
So, I, like me and Zach, like I wanted to have Zach join me once I heard about his fabulous experiment. So we started looking through the list, and I was like, hey, which one of these aren't terrible was the first thing. And he sent me back a list, and I looked at those, and the thing that led me to this episode specifically was like I remembered from as soon as I saw the description, the part at the end where the cow talks, and that just like I was like, oh, good, yeah, the talking cow episode, that'll be fine. That was literally all I had was tomacco, but I figured that was enough to build a lot on.
We were actually going to do the whole episode on just that moment. If we just want to jump to that,
it's going to be 30 minutes of us just going back and forth and saying tomacco.
Yeah. I wrote down cow yelling tomacco is a lot. That's what I wrote in my notes. I actually I think this episode is interesting, and I think I pitched this to Andy, not the other way around. This one in particular, because it's starting to lean into the impulses of The Simpsons that people say are quote unquote bad, like the zaniness or the hard zag or the like the absolute being divorced from reality and being divorced from emotion, right? That like a lot of people who love, seasons 1 through 7 talk about. But it's like, it's a banger. Like it is like, there is a moment to moment, this episode fucking rips. And that's the whole thing. Like you can see where this becomes bad later, right? But it's like watching Aladdin and being worried about Shrek coming down the pipe, right? Like, no, the Aladdin's good.
There might be
This
some early
episode
signs, but yeah, it's still working in this vehicle. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So like, right. I'm sorry. Going back into like I totally think the bangerness episode is what you said. The bangerness episode, bangerness of this episode is what I'm trying to say. For me, what was surprising is I would agree with you all the way through, but I completely forgot like everything outside of the farm. Like my only memory of this entire episode was they're growing tomacco, and like I didn't remember anything with the glove slap. I didn't remember like anything with them hiding in the Christmas tree. Like none of the other stuff that happened in this, and even the movies at the very beginning, which were fantastic, by the way.
Oh, did you write those names down? Because I got them written down.
The movies that were available, I didn't.
My Dinner with Jar Jar. Mars Needs Towels.
Excellent.
That 70s movie. Let's see. So Face Palmer 4, I think, or Face Puncher 4, which made me think of Community a little bit.
Yes, I saw Face Punch, and that also made me think of Community, Kick Puncher.
There's 2 more. Das Booty Call, and then my personal favorite, Shakespeare in Heat.
I like Das Booty Call a lot. That's funny.
Amazing.
I think Das Booty Call is the winner for me. Shakespeare in Heat is very good, but Das Booty Call is
like,
what would that even
I just
look
want
like?
to see that movie crossover done. Can we just like someone please splice the footage of those 2 pretty excellent on their own regard movies together?
Make one super movie.
Yeah.
Now, let's be honest, guys. After like the first time you saw this episode when you were younger, did any of you go up and start challenging people to duels? Because I know I did. Like,
did you carry around a pair of gloves?
No, I pretended to.
Not just the first scene. So I learned that dueling was bad from this.
Listen, hold on. I learned to not challenge like racist coded guys to do
Basically, my rule is if you have a Confederate flag anywhere on your vehicle, I'm not going to challenge you to a duel.
Like, you know, he put it on the roof.
He wasn't trying to hide it. He was
put
putting it out there for everyone.
But it's like high up, so it's like, you know, the person like medevacing someone sees it. Nobody else does. Everybody else thinks he's respectful, which is what a rich man from the South would do, right? You put your racism where people can barely see it.
Just I mean, not completely hidden, but you know, just tucked under a little bit.
Yeah, so I say so. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and dive into this one a bit. And again, we'll talk. We'll go on tangents. I'm quite confident with this group here, especially if we all keep drinking our whiskey.
Yes,
but this
Zach.
episode did air on November 7th, 1999. The chalkboard gag on this one was "I did not win the Nobel Fart Prize." And the couch gag on this one was like all the Simpsons show up to their living room as if it were a club with a velvet rope. They're all let in except for Homer. And even on the commentary on this episode, which featured Matt Selman, Ian Maxstone Graham, Mike Scully, George Meyer, and Rob Bauer, who we'll get to in a little while. But they all even like kind of commented like, it seems like a lot of our couch gags are like something good happens to the family, something bad happens to Homer. Almost like they're noticing patterns. Yeah. This one,
soft on this couch gag, by the way. I'm soft on it.
It's okay.
And it's
it's
just
a high quality chalkboard gag though. Like
Nobel Fart Prize is really good. Though I'll be honest, I really like a more topical chalkboard gag. Those are always my favorite. Like when they're referencing something that's actually happened in the
that you have to go look up on Wikipedia to like understand because it's like, NAFTA, weird.
Yeah, 100%. You got it. So this one opens up at the movie theater that we talked about. It's actually the Googleplex. It's doing a parody of Saving Private Ryan, only with like the most disturbing product placement that you'll ever see, because they're like shooting each other, and then they're like they grab a Buzz Cola off of a dead man, and then the dead body is like, you can buy these in the lobby. Oh no, it's
Zilabi.
It's German. Yeah, of course, it's a German soldier.
That's in my brain. Like, for 20 years I've been saying I have to go to Z Lobby, like just to myself in private in my special building.
I love it's like Lisa's the obvious voice of reason. Do they really think cheapening the memory of our veterans will sell soda? And of course, Homer's already on his way.
Sometimes
Also,
you need a Buzz Cola, bro.
But Milk Duds and butter is one of the most disturbing things I think I've ever seen on the show to date.
You know what's the only thing more disturbing than that? Snack bar employees not washing their hand after they use the restroom. That is
That's true.
Unfortunate on a lot of levels.
Touche.
Hold on. You're saying that it's 1 a.m., right? There's some leftover Milk Duds. They fall in the melted butter that you keep at hand.
As one does at 1 a.m.
And you're not...
Hold on. You asked
maybe
a different question, sir. Like the question of if I worked at a movie theater, would I have eaten melted butter on nearly everything, including my sandwich and French fries and possibly
fingernails,
even a Frosty at this point? The answer is yes. I am me. Let's be honest. Yeah, you don't crack 265 if you haven't experimented with butter at least a few times. It's just true.
All I'm saying is I wouldn't ask for it, but if I found myself in the situation where a Milk Dud was coated in butter, you've got damn right.
I feel like that's
a
featured dessert at like Heart Attack Grill. Like it's like the only place that you're gonna find that on a regular basis. But of course, we know that Homer not only wants that, but he reminds the employee that he wants to fill it with butter all the way to the top.
Swim, disturbing. My pretties.
Yeah. I believe Homer ends up walking into one of the coolest movie crossovers, probably like way more of an ambitious crossover than anything Marvel's done so far. Because you've got Zorro, the Three Musketeers, and the Man in the Iron Mask all having a sword fight.
Hold on. Are we leaving? Are we going to leave out the Scarlet Pimpernel?
Yeah, I had to Google that motherfucker because I thought you would ask me who that was.
I will say, for the last 20 years, the sum total of my knowledge of who or what the Scarlet Pimpernel is begins and ends with this Simpsons episode.
At least that movie they're watching is historically accurate.
Yeah.
That's important. Right. Yeah.
Quiet, here come the ninjas.
Shut up, ninjas.
Oh man. So I also love the traditional damsel in distress that you would find in a Zorro movie. Zorro's been like slicing a Z into everything, but the Scarlet Pimpernel is the initials that are revealed in her dress after it's like her undergarments, really. We're just friends.
Right.
And of course, that is the fucking be-all, end-all of this episode. Because Zorro then goes and finds the Scarlet Pimpernel and takes his glove off, slaps the shit out of him, and says, "I demand satisfaction, motherfucker."
Demand satisfaction.
I think that's how it goes.
Satisfaction. I challenge you to a duel.
Slap. And he gives him the old
That's
slap.
what I used to do all the time.
Do you accept or are you a coward?
I am a coward.
So that just really gets Homer's that does it for Homer basically.
You forgot the part where King Arthur declared Zorro the new king of England too.
I did. He tosses him like the crown across the balcony too, and he stabs it, and that's literally when the credits roll.
Can we talk about the credits to this fucking movie for a minute?
We absolutely can and will talk about the credits.
Cheech Marin, fucking Edward. Who else was in this? Fucking Meryl Streep, Darth Vader. James Earl Jones. Right. Sorry. It takes. I always have to either call him that or CNN before I remember his actual human name. Sorry. Not sorry.
Avenge my death, Kimba. I mean, Simba.
So the part that I actually was more blown away by than the actual credits was the rap song that was being performed over the credits. Mostly because, according to the commentary, that rap was improvised by Hank Azaria, and he said he was inspired by, he had just recently seen Deep Blue Sea, and LL Cool J's character like raps the plot of that movie over the closing credits, and he just thought that was the funniest thing. So when it came up in the recording studio, this is what happened: is he rapped the Zorro credits.
You know, you're all
How much time, Miles,
so good.
do we have to talk about deepest, bluest? My head is like a shark's fin. Because I could do it for 30 minutes. Like, we'll leave it there. But if you have not seen the music video for the Deep Blue Sea end credits rap, which is called Deepest Bluest by LL Cool J, who is the only survivor of that movie.
Spoiler alert, bro.
And his parrot lives,
Whoa,
I think.
no.
He and Tom Jane live.
But they leave their feet hanging in the water.
Tom Jane does. Yeah.
80% of LL Cool J survives. It should be clear.
Yeah.
He's down a foot, I think.
He morphs into a shark. All I'm saying is he morphs into a shark.
It's like Animorphs quality of CGI too.
Yeah.
It's
Fuck
real
the
funny.
Simpsons. Let's just watch that. That can be the rest of the podcast.
I'll be real. If you haven't seen that movie or that music video, you really probably should. I don't want you to tune out now,
several times, but I did not know that this music video. LL Cool J, you're so great at being terrible at stuff.
If you want to watch a movie where
I thought
the
this
screen
was
for an hour while it slowly cracks with water coming in, then go watch Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah. I thought it was a Will Smith gag. Like, I thought it was making fun of Will Smith.
I could see, honestly, I think that's almost in the same, like, it could very much be that same style. I think he just happened to pick that movie, but that was something that was happening a decent amount at that time. There was like a lot of rappers that were performing in a movie, and then they'd have like their hit song tied to that vehicle to, like, you know, try to cross promote or whatever. I don't really know how business works, but apparently synergy is a thing that they're using.
Yeah, that's the real American art form, not jazz.
True.
Raps that explain the movie you just saw.
There's the same amount of drugs in both.
Yeah.
But so Homer, of course, in typical Homer fashion, takes this one part of the movie that he was just so enamored by, the glove slap duel challenge, and he starts using it everywhere, including at the bar at Moe's. I think it was Skinner had to use the restroom, so he like ran by and Homer slaps him.
He also got a free bar at Moe's, too.
Oh, yeah, Moe was actually first, yeah.
Okay.
There's that great line, his bladder's full of urine.
I also completely missed, too, or this might not have happened yet, I don't know, I get confused on this, but Marge at one point, like, kisses Homer after he challenges Snake. Yeah. And Homer does the ketchup bottle H to be like his Zorro Z.
Right. And, I can tell you from personal experience, it is way harder to write legibly with condiments than that.
It really is. When we did that, I think Andy and Richie were both for the tie-dye party we did that one time. It was like trying to write in tie-dye itself is difficult, but like ketchup would be even more of a challenge. I don't know. Maybe I fever dreamed that whole thing. Either way.
No, I was there. That happened. We did
that was for sure there. I think Moe's free beer is actually what really like kind of started or compounded the problem. If Homer didn't realize that by slapping people with his glove, it would benefit him, alcoholically, he may have not gotten into that as much.
Dude, free drinks are dangerous.
For sure.
Yeah, that's true.
That's literally the reason I keep doing comedy is like people just keep giving me drink tickets, and I'm like, well, I guess I have to redeem these.
I mean,
what can you do? Homer, of course, gets out of control, and we get a nice little montage where we get the song "Love Slap" to the tune of "Love Shack," which was actually performed by the B-52s, which is fantastic. Mike Scully on the commentary actually commented on this. The B-52s actually recorded this, but they ended up cutting it down significantly. So Mike Scully joked it pretty much quickly became the most expensive dumb joke they ever used on the show.
That's great. It's worth
It's
it.
a pretty
Like,
decent film.
Glove Slap, it's a good joke, and it's a good repurposing of a good song.
It works on both ends.
Rules.
They ended up moving it to the end credits for that reason because they're like, we're gonna get our money's worth out of this. Like, but it was. I agree. It's a great, and it's memorable too. Like the song gets like stuck in your head, but like in a fun way, and it's a good little montage. We see him slap. Who do we see? It's Milhouse's dad, Mr. Van Houten, gets slapped. Dr. Hibbert gets slapped. Eventually it gets around. Yeah, eventually it gets around to a Southern gentleman, though, who...
Well, there's like a line of like 50 people at the fucking Quickie Mart, right? And Homer's all like, fuck this bullshit. So he gets out his slapping glove, and he's all like, swap, pop, pop, get the fuck out of my way, I demand satisfaction.
But then he slaps the old Southern gentleman and says, I demand a duel. And the Southern colonel immediately turns to him and is like, I accept. I choose pistols at dawn.
And it's just Froghorn Leghorn,
that
right?
is
Like,
100%.
I accept your duel.
Hey, fun fact. If you are challenged to a duel, you have the right to set the terms of the duel as he does by choosing pistols at dawn. This is important because if anyone ever challenges you to a duel, you can technically challenge them to Madden 64. I don't know if you knew that, but if anyone ever glove slaps your ass, you're literally like, let's go. Magic the Gathering, standard, now.
I choose limp pasta, but I don't wake up till like noon. So 2:30, good?
Yeah, exactly. 2:30, long rip competition.
There it is.
3 p.m. on a Thursday. Who can beat Dark Souls the fastest?
That one ends with both people killing themselves.
Yeah, probably.
Always the business opportunity minded person Apu is immediately points out that headstones can be purchased on aisle 6.
As well as Will's. I didn't know this was a full service bodega, but like now I feel at home.
Now, do you think that the quotes on Friend to All on Homer Simpson's tombstone are ironic? Are they a direct quote? Like, what's the deal with the quotes around Friend to All?
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Because it is, like, I watched it, an hour ago, and I was like, there's quotes around it.
They
like,
don't address that at all on the commentary, which is
Here's
kind
what
of
I
funny
have
in
on
itself.
that, is that at
Frank
the
Grimes.
bodega, everything they have is discount bullshit. Right?
Yeah.
So like some other motherfucker like at the like gravestone factory put quotes around and they're like, what the fuck are these quote marks, god damn it? He's literally a friend to all. It's not just me saying it.
He said it once.
They're like, oh, it's fine. We'll just offload this at the bodega. They'll fucking buy anything.
They'll take it. Yeah.
Go back to the stay with your wife tombstones.
Now, hold on. Have you all, to divert, to move into the future for a second, there's an episode later on where the Quickie Mart is just a grocery store. What is going on?
Do they address it at all, or is it just like they just needed it to be a grocery store?
No.
What do you mean, just a grocery store?
To be a grocery store.
Not a convenience store, but a full-blown grocery store.
Because, I mean, again, like, I'm at bodega, and there are very few things a bodega can't sell. Go.
Here's the thing. Quickie Mart is coded as a 7-Eleven, right? You look at it, it's like a 7-Eleven or
I think of it as like Quick Stop from like the Kevin Smith universe.
Quick Stop, yeah. Yes. But in this episode, in like season 18, and I know I'm like going far afield, they have, the aisles are like full height, and there are like 12 of them, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I felt like I was on acid.
Yeah.
Like it was wild.
Maybe that was like a temporary split. We had like a brief Mandela where we were suddenly in a universe where the Quickie Mart was always a grocery store.
That's probably
what are you talking about, dude?
It's
7-Eleven?
one thing a bodega
It's always
can't
been like
have.
a Kroger where I come from.
That's during the shitty soap opera
But
days.
there is evidence. They seem to do all their shopping there. So
there's definitely an episode, and now honestly, I can't remember if we've already covered it or if it's just one that I remember from another time. But there's definitely an episode where Apu is like, his business is struggling because another grocery store opens, and even Marge feels like guilty because she goes and ends up shopping there because it's just so convenient. Richie, does that sound familiar to you at all? Because I feel like we just covered that, and I don't know what episode it is. They all really do start to like melt together. It's terrible.
There's also the one where they go to the store and get like all the 99-cent items that taste like garbage because it is garbage. So if it's thinkable, the Simpsons have done it. Put that on Homer's tombstone.
Yeah, you don't have to put that in quotes.
Yeah.
Right. He did everything and then died.
Friends all.
So I always love the way that Homer will like get himself into a problem, and then at like the next scene, it immediately shows him like crying to Marge. In this case, he's basically shown like immediately being like, "Oh, guns at dawn! How did it ever come to this?" And of course, it's entirely his own doing, but Lisa's seen hanging up the phone and being like, the National Weather Service says dawn is scheduled for 6:20 tomorrow, and please stop calling. They're trying to be encouraging. They're like, oh, I bet he won't even show up. And Bart's like, yeah, he's probably just a big blowhard like you. And immediately Homer's response to that is, sir, that is an insult. I challenge you to a... And then when his family stares back, he's like, what? I just love the way that Homer legitimately seems oblivious to the fact that he is the cause of his own problems.
Yeah. It's great. And it's like it's the plot driver of so many episodes of the show is Homer, seems to be like, if we're gonna diagnose him as like a malignant narcissist, like he's so good at being lovable, but also being totally oblivious to what is going on in his life, right? Which I guess is the difference between a fictional character and a real person who's your dad.
Oh man, that whole like, I guess, dynamic of Homer is something that gets discussed a lot moving more into the seasons that you're currently watching. I'm sure you've heard the phrase jerk ass Homer, which gets thrown around a whole lot. But so far, I think that just from the episodes that we've covered, they do a great job of keeping him buffoonish, but in a still like likable, even lovable way. So far. Right.
Because it's like, it's not mean spirited. It's like innocent stupidity more than it's anything, right? Like
there's definitely
like
victims of his ignorance, but it comes off as like his own ignorance as opposed to like malicious anything. Yeah, like no malicious intent. Yeah.
Right. And it's like I'm seeing it in like season 20 a little bit. Like they didn't learn the lesson of Frank Grimes, right? Like Frank Grimes taught us a valuable lesson, which is that Homer is a horrible person to everyone who is out, like looking at him from the outside, right? But he needs to be oblivious to it all the time.
And that Frank Grimes episode is one of the best from the Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein era, and they actually do come up a little bit later in this episode as well. They were mentioned on the commentary. But for now, we actually see this Southern gentleman show up outside the Simpsons' home. He's got his attractive younger wife with him, who Homer immediately starts to be like, ooh, yeah, Homer.
Hey, I'm not dead yet. Oh, save me, Marge. I saved you.
Again, that immediately flipped of like, he's just oblivious to how much of an asshole he's being.
Oh, it's so perfect because she's all like, well, can't the Colonel's wife save you?
Oh, Marge, that's in the past. Just let it go.
It is in the past. He's not wrong.
Yeah. Yes, right there. Homer Simpson is the American id. I think that's why we're so accepting of his dumbass buffoonery, is because, like, literally he's living out this American, like, power fantasy at all times. Like, I mean, that's what's going on here, is that literally, like, Americans want to get whatever they want, be first in line, suffer no consequences for it, whatever, reconnect to nature. They want everything they do to be fucking easy. They want to get rich for fucking free off of it. And at the end, they just want to, I don't know, I don't have it in mincemeat.
That started off so strong, though, dude.
I know, it fell off at the end.
That had like so
Kinda
much
like
potential.
my novel, which you can buy, by the way, from Goldwig Press right now.
You sure can, yeah. You should.
Can I get some way too late season 11 advice? Too many doctors on this show.
That's probably true for both us and The Simpsons, though. So I think that works. We're just following.
Right.
Too many
following
PhDs. They fuck everything up. Jesus Christ.
How
Yeah.
many PhDs does it take to do a Simpsons podcast? Moving on.
Apparently more than
That's
two
a really
tonight.
interesting question. I'd like to respond in 3 parts.
If I could, I'd like to trouble that a little bit.
Perfect. So we, of course, see Homer immediately panic, and he has no interest in actually following through with the consequences of his actions. And luckily, he does have the ultimate ride or die chick at his side, because Marge actually hides him somehow. Like, with all of Homer's weight, her and the 2 kids are able to carry him out in the old Christmas tree that they, of course, have not gotten out or gotten rid of yet, I should say.
Didn't this episode air in like November? So like, I forgot when the episode is. So it's almost been a full year.
This Christmas tree has been there for 11 months now. At this, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not brown anymore. It is gray.
Yeah. I haven't
You would
held one on
think that there would be
long.
no way that it would be dense enough to hide a man as thick as Homer, but here we are.
Those Douglas firs, man, they hold on to the leaves.
Marge is like, no, my husband will be out any minute now. We just have to get rid of this old Christmas tree. And of course, the Colonel, being a Southern gentleman as he is, has to offer to help, which of course causes a panic from the rest of the family. Marge is like, no, you can't help. You'll get sap on your dueling blouse.
That's my favorite line of the episode. Like maybe my favorite line. You'll get sap on your dueling blouse.
Well, at least let me
So
shoot
good.
it into smaller pieces for you, ma'am.
And then Bart, well, it's worth a try.
But Marge is able to get the tree with her husband hidden safely underneath the pine needles that haven't fallen off yet. And they're able to escape in the car, which Homer couldn't be any more relieved, especially since he even said, I'm sure glad I didn't throw out the tree in April like Marge asked.
That's so terrifying. Not Zach pouring whiskey. That's fine. But yeah,
I gave you all the good
I
camera
liked it.
angle on me
It was
pouring
very
whiskey.
classy. I felt like I was in a drinking, YouTube video for a moment. But yeah, Homer Simpson is amazing. Let's be honest. What's the longest you've ever kept a Christmas tree? Everyone. Because I have straight thrown one away, during spring break.
I use a fake Christmas tree, so I guess a more accurate question for me would be, how long have I taken to put it away? And my dad was super hard. Like, when I was a kid, we did use a live tree, but my dad was one of those, honestly, once we were done, unopening is a weird way to put that. Once we were done opening presents, my dad's basically like, all right, let's burn the tree. Get the ornaments off if you want to. He wasn't having it. It was time to go back to military cleanliness.
I have put up with this goddamn plant in my living room for long enough.
If we keep it another day, I'll have to water it, and that's another 35 cents I'm not getting back.
Mm-hmm. Andy, I don't know, but I will say that every time I put on my shoes, there's a Christmas needle pointing straight up, still to this day. They were all falling off the tree. We got a small thing they're that long, and they're sharp enough to go through your foot. And every time I put my shoes on, there's one. So
you you live an interesting life, Zach.
Whatever.
I don't even know. Was that an insult? I'm not even certain. He's lost me.
He's trying to drag me, but it's just none of it's
I feel that.
sticking.
It's because you don't want to get any of that sap on your dueling blouse.
On your dueling blouse. That's it right there.
That's right. I'm on drink number 4. I'm partially employed. Everything's going fine.
I love the term partially employed. That's brilliant. Oh my god.
Are we starting a Simpsons drunk history show now?
We could. It's technically that's kind of what we've been doing all along. And in a way,
there is a reason we usually record these at 2 in the afternoon.
It does. This is taking a turn for sure.
I'm doing different stuff at 9:30.
I'm usually in a completely different headspace. But that's either here. We get another visit from to Donnie's Discount Gas, where Homer is able to call his neighbor Flanders for some help. Flanders, you got to help me. Is there a Southern couple parked in front of my house?
Oh, yes, indeedy, Homer. It looks like they're setting in for a long stay.
And we actually see they've got the fully functional RV with the extending awning and all of the things that would make your luxurious stay.
Wind chimes.
I was afraid of that. Well, goodbye, my gentle neighbor. I've always wanted to tell you how much.
To continue talking, please deposit 10 cents.
Screw it. Click. I really like that. I love that the 10 cents is just too much for Homer to be able to finally confess his true feelings towards Flanders.
Aww.
Yeah.
Homer is concerned because they really can't go home, seeing as it's currently occupied by someone who wants to shoot him with a pistol. They beg Jimmy Carter for a Habitat for Humanity house.
That's fucking
that sentence is just so odd.
Such a good joke.
Unfortunately for the Simpsons, President Carter informs them that these houses are for the truly needy. And Cletus is there to say, yeah, get your own habitat.
Come on, Carter. Build us a house, you lazy bum.
You have offended me, sir. And he grabs a pair of gloves. Come back here, you yellow-bellied.
I think most of the episodes that feature a president are pretty good. Throwing that out there.
I'm trying to think if there's an exception to that, and I can't think of one.
They do.
I like the Gerald Ford episode.
I don't know yet, but I imagine there's something in season 32 or 33 that's going to be.
Yes,
no.
that's.
Ew. Fuck.
Let's just pretend we live in a different world until that time. Yeah, while we still can.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, man, totally just lost. Here we go. We see Homer is actually now driving out to the country, remembering about his grandpa's farmhouse, which he's listing the... That's what I was going to say. They did bring up that they're pretty sure that Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein had an episode where that burned down. But
I have that in my notes.
But they're like, fuck it, basically, was their answer to that question.
It was the sex tonic episode. They burn it down at the end, and they're rolling around in the grass on fire after they hug.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't know. Maybe Grandpa had insurance.
I don't think we ever technically saw it collapse. So, structurally, it could have been there.
That house is pretty fucked up. I'm just saying, that could have been the house that they moved out of 30 years ago and built the other house, which is the one they burned down. I don't know why I'm trying to solve these plot holes. I don't know what I did.
The creators of the show themselves acknowledged that there was an incident that happened, but it was inconvenient for what they needed for the plot of the show. So they went with which could actually bring up a whole argument of are those decisions part of this show dipping, or is that just always been part of the show, or that's just part of the irreverent nature of The Simpsons?
Yes.
I mean, at this point, they'd already done like they're in high school, but it's 5 years later thing, right? Like
a flash
they've already
forward,
done
just
that
like
by now,
glimpse
right?
into the future type of thing.
Meaning like an episode that was like Homer and Marge in high school, but now it's like the
yeah, they haven't gone back to where
right?
like I know there's an episode where like they go to summer camp when they're younger, and Homer and Marge are both. You find out they met before high school, but they didn't give the right names. But we haven't gotten that far yet.
Right, but I do think they've been like loose with the timeline and loose with like what's Arminton's
well,
area.
like depending on what Homer needs to buy that week, there's a different store next to Moe's Tavern a lot. Like it's often like King Tut's musical instrument store or whatever it is, but sometimes it's just not. Sometimes it's something completely different.
They got to move the town every once in a while when the garbage fills up. So sometimes things don't move to the next area in the same spot.
That's absolutely what it is, of course. But Homer starts to think of all the advantages that country living has to offer, such as fresh air, hay rides, and apple picking. When they get to the farm, though, they can see that it is standing, but in very, very rough condition. And Homer gets out and strips to his underwear and screams, "Race you to the swimming hole," where he dives into what looks like grass. It's just so overgrown with weeds. But he says, "Don't worry, it's free of leeches," which he very quickly realizes this is not the case.
Oh, no, you hear a fucking snake. There's a rattle. And
no.
Snakes, though.
It's snake.
That's what it is. Yeah.
That doesn't scare Homer, though.
Snakes,
he's an expert whacker.
That's true. It's not a problem.
He
but that whole
whacker.
pond situation is just disturbing. It looks like a really bad, like, disc golf water trap.
I was about to say, I'm throwing a lot of frisbees in there, and Miles has laughed uproariously as I attempted to retrieve them.
Oh my! Sometimes your will to get a disc back is beyond my patience to stay at a golf course for that many hours.
Yeah,
but you know, good for you. No soldiers
I paid
left behind.
$3 for that, so.
Yeah, I respect. Honestly, I laugh, but it's only because I had somewhere to be that day.
Yeah. We're talking to. This is the person who literally has gotten out scuba fucking equipment to find a goddamn frisbee.
Yeah. All right. So
Wait, are we talking about Associate Professor Briseno?
No, I mean he's the one. Hold on, there. Now I'm pointing. Yep. He's the one who fucking who has scuba gear.
Oh,
I have definitely like gotten down in my underwear and waded waist deep into rivers that are not worth getting into in January in Denton.
Yeah, honestly, I think that the fact that we both waded nipple deep into the water trap at Denton makes us immune to anything that's happening currently in our world. So we're okay.
It turns out that's where the vaccine comes from.
That bat gets around.
That's the Moderna. That's what it is.
Yeah. No, y'all are like Gwyneth Paltrow eating that pork in Contagion. You're the ones who caused this shit. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to take
both your heads off to figure something out.
We basically just went wading in filth and then made out with all of our friends. So, just really spread it around as much as possible.
I wouldn't put it past
but that
either
actually brings us to the end of our first act of this episode, believe it or not. Yeah, we're only I don't even know how long we're in this. We're only an hour in, so we're good. We've got time. Zach doesn't have to be up in the morning. So.
I mean, I'm partially employed. I'm mostly worried about like surrendering the bedroom
That's the
to my
real
wife.
issue.
So
Yeah, at a certain point, it's just like you're gonna have to sleep on the couch because it's become ridiculous to the time you'll get.
But we'll wrap like the last for like 30 seconds the rest of the episode. So
just do a recap real fast. We'll go ahead and keep going right into Act 2, which we see them actually open the cabin up to, the farmhouse, I should say, to kind of investigate. Marge is a little bit concerned because it's full of raccoons. Just think of them as cats with rabies.
Ugh.
But then an actual cat with rabies shows up on Homer's shoulders. Oh, hello, kitty. Ow! You little scamp.
Dude,
Are we really
watch
gonna
out
live
for
here?
trash pandas. They will fuck you right up.
Dude, those are mean critters,
Like
man.
that is on the list of animals you don't fight. Along
I've told the story
with
before.
cockatiels, all birds actually don't fight a bird. Just take my advice. Just don't do it. You're gonna lose, and then you're gonna feel really bad. Is what's gonna happen.
They float like a butterfly and
the fight to the bird, but your ego is gonna take years to come back after you lose a fight to a bird.
Right.
Richie, did you also have something you were going to say there?
I think I told the story on our podcast before, but maybe it was just while we were waiting to podcast that when I went camping after I graduated high school, I was one of the only people that wasn't drinking at the time. That was before Richie had alcohol. And I was out at the campfire just enjoying the peace and quiet, and something hit me. And then a few seconds later, something flew by my head, and there was marshmallows being thrown at me from the trees. And then I saw the eyes, and it was a freaking raccoon who literally stole a bag of our marshmallows and was attacking me with them.
Haunting you with it.
And
You know how many marshmallows
I
called you
Fuck you.
to like throw some of them away.
I called a friend out of the tent, and they saw it. So like I had proof. Like somebody, I thought nobody would believe me. The freaking raccoon was stealing marshmallows.
All of Richie's friends had been slipping him alcohol all night.
Food as a weapon. Like,
Richie just didn't know he was drunk.
And no, it's like
What did you do to that fucking raccoon?
It's like they knew that I was diabetic, so they're like, "Here, have a marshmallow, jerk."
Take that. Lisa is kind of in shock that she doesn't believe they're going to actually try to live here and grow crops. But Homer's like, what are you talking about? This is our big chance. The Simpsons will be reborn as a bunch of gap-toothed bumpkins.
I'll dig an outhouse.
I'll weed the floor.
I'll repress the rage I'm feeling.
And then she does like the best like grinding teeth force smile that you'll ever see. That's my girl. Let the agriculture begin.
I love that shit because like they don't let Homer all the way off. Like we at least get this. P.S. He just traumatized the shit out of his wife, and like his marriage reduced in length at that time. Like he may have lengthened it back up later, but like years were cut off the end of that.
Marge in general, like as like a character case study, I think you could really do a deep dive into a lot of really interesting mental health topics because like she deals with a lot on the show.
Codependency.
For sure.
We're not going to get into that. We don't have enough time.
What, we don't have 4 hours to kill?
Yeah, let's talk about how Bart and Homer are sort of coded black for like 30 seconds, and it's gross.
Is this when they are trying to make the tractor sound more tractory?
Yes, and they're eating watermelon together, and it seems very fucked up. What the fuck did
that watermelon do? Like, I mean, it's just so random. It's like, oh, that's a strange and poor choice.
Okay.
Yes. Which honestly is like a lot of The Simpsons is like they're playing around in race shit that they don't really know about, right? And what are you gonna do? It was the 90s and 2000s and 2010s.
It was the past and also the present, which is still racist. Damn it.
Is this where I know this is where they have the Lassie joke?
When the tractor falls on Homer.
Oh my god, the running gag of the tractor falling on Homer is so goddamn stupid at the first time you watch this. But like Andy said earlier, like the more I watched this episode, I just couldn't stop laughing every time it happened.
I talked to my kids about this in class. Like we talked about we talked about the rule of 3, which is the established comedic thing, right? You know, but there's also like a rule of 7. I don't know. Like, I mean, like
like
exactly,
the rule of
right. Like you go past funny to like dumb to like surprising, and then you loop back to okay, now it's like a meme that you've created within its own constructs, and it's sort of
it's really the Family Guy angle that they use a lot in that show, which arguably there is a point in The Simpsons where it feels like The Simpsons is trying to chase Family Guy a little bit because they let Family Guy like crush through the scene and get the lead, and now they're feeling like they have to play catch up, so they start doing more and more of those very Family Guy-esque jokes as we start to move through this period of the show.
Right.
At least we assume. We haven't gotten there yet.
True.
Right.
Mhm.
Speaking of Aladdin 2 Shrek, Simpsons 2 Family Guy. Like,
Yeah.
I like when Homer gets crushed with the tractor and calls for Lassie.
But it's such a good joke. I mean, Lisa. Like, that's like, I mean, Lisa. It's so funny to me still to this day.
Like, we're just at that era where like Lassie was like on reruns, I think on Nickelodeon at night or something. Like,
Night, yeah.
Yeah, we saw that show, and like, yeah. Anyway,
I feel like it was like either Saturday or Sunday afternoon. There was some TV show that played a block that went like Flipper into Lassie or vice versa. And it was like basically like Animal Rescue Hour.
Yeah, exactly. Overly intelligent animal bullshit hour.
And then for some reason 3 hours of Dobie Gillis.
I think mine was always a 3-hour block of Gilligan's Island after. But...
And then you'd have to watch the professor make a goddamn nuclear reactor out of a fucking coconut.
I still want to know how he does it, man. Think about how much money you could make.
It's plutonium is the secret.
It is. We need just to write Lenny.
If we can kind of, right? So the Simpsons can't grow shit. Huge shocker. That motherfuckers, I know I'm skipping some shit, but let's be serious. They can't grow shit. We all knew this was happening. Like, this is why I love this episode, because, at some point, you, know what the fuck is going on. You're like, oh, I got this. They're going to the farm. Homer's going to try and grow crops. Homer's going to suck at fucking growing crops, and then something's going to happen.
But it's not Homer's fault, though.
I'm figuring it out.
It's the soil pH is around 9.6. You need a 7 to 8 to grow. Everybody knows that.
You do need that. That's true.
It's such a also. As somebody who has spent the last 6 months copywriting for a food company that deals with organic farmers, that joke hit
different. Your time in the pickle palace of pain, it changes.
My time in the pickle has changed me. But I also love that it's up to the elephant's eye as a unit of measurement. Is so
the elephant's eye thing is actually a reference to something. Hold on, I have it somewhere right here. The scene where the farmer measuring his coin up to the elephant's eye is a reference to "Oh, What a Beautiful Morning" from Rodgers and Hammerstein's Oklahoma. The song lyrics contain the words, "The corn is as high as an elephant's eye, and it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky." And Homer does not catch it in this, which is interesting according to IMDb, as it was pointed out in the musical clip show how much he hates musicals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
I didn't
one of
catch
those,
it either.
You
That's
just gotta
great.
be a genius Simpsons Harvard writer dude that happened to catch this very specific joke.
I knew that.
Well, you also
have to be a fan of Oklahoma.
I mean, yeah.
Which the only thing I know about Oklahoma is on Watchmen, they make the joke about going to see Black Oklahoma, and then they also, I know on Broadway recently did, or off Broadway,
Fantastic.
They did a sexy
Is there a sexy version of Oklahoma?
I was about to say, they clearly cast people that weren't from Oklahoma to fill in that role.
Yeah.
Miles, be quiet. You're really going to hurt our Oklahoma numbers.
That's true. Nobody in Oklahoma has the internet. I'm not worried about that.
I'm sorry, Matthew. We all know you're from Tulsa.
So Andy did just kind of do a brief recap of a lot of stuff, but let's talk about a few things. I like the scene where Lisa thinks that she's helping out a lamb that hasn't been sheared in a long time, but it just turns out to be a rat after she shears it all the way down. And then
that rat is so dope.
But a cool.
It looks like he should be a mascot for a pizza.
That's cool.
I would go to that joint.
Yeah.
But then we actually get one of the, according to the creators of the show on the commentary, this is maybe the dirtiest joke they ever got away with. And that is when they arrive at the store, the supply store. It is called Sneed's Feed and Seed, formerly Chuck's. So Okay, so Sneed's
It's not showing it
feed
for
with
me.
an F, and seed would turn into Chuck's fuck and suck.
Form of alliteration.
Oh, okay. That's
See,
too
I thought that was
obscure.
really funny when I first saw that sign. Like,
Like-
it's they just do it very briefly, but like the first time I saw that sign, I laughed my ass off. Apparently, I'm the only one. I'm apparently the only one.
My brain
Yeah.
is still going to
Don't
like.
you both have? Aren't you both doctors of the English
Seed and-
language over here? Like,
I don't.
Yeah, we didn't
But it's
take
not
classes
like,
on
you know,
fucking
like-
psychology, bud. Like,
well, then
Didn't
you wasted
you
your
any-
time in
that,
college,
like,
my friend.
I was
That's
busy
true.
learning
I mean-
important shit like how to speak Middle English.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a way more fun time.
I took the elective. I took the elective.
All right, so
Um,
the Simpsons
it's been a while,
did
so I
intend
forget.
that to be a very dirty
We were
joke,
in this.
and it did make it. Maybe it was too obscure that the censors didn't catch it either.
Right. I wouldn't if I were
that's
I
good,
a
yeah.
censor. I would have been like,
We see a group
okay.
of farmers from or local farmers in town saying things like, well, look at the city slicker pulling up in his fancy German car."
cars made in Guatemala.
I already
Sorry,
stole
Richie.
classes because we already talked about it. So.
Well, pardon us,
Richie was
Mr.
with me on the
Gucci.
mega
I
scale.
really like the line, "I'm sorry, I believe in good grooming." So I was trying to get there, but you know what? Fuck it. We don't need to make me happy. I'll just cry the rest of the show.
Well, pardon us, Mr.
I'll
Gucci.
I'll
lovers.
laugh thinking about Chuck Suck and Fuck and move right on.
I bought these shoes from a hobo.
I think it's very fitting that the DC City Boy just ruined y'all's
I don't have
bit.
time for that.
So
moment.
Sneed inside is kind of giving Homer a hard time, letting him know that he's not going to be able to grow nothing on that old Simpson farm. That's why your daddy abandoned it.
Well, what do you know?
And that's where we learn about this like basically is presented as a yokel. Like you would think that he doesn't know anything, but he's very, very solid in his pH science. He starts talking about why the pH balance is off and so on, but Homer's treating it as like, that's just superstition.
He's like, "You'll watch me. I'll grow something out there."
But he's literally, he's been filling up his seed bag with gummy bears.
Go.
Yeah, mix some tobacco, some tomato, some other stuff, some candy corns. Yeah.
There's definitely candy
So
corn
actually,
in there and a
bringing up
gummy.
the candy corn, that brings another fun point from the commentary. They actually had intended, or when they were first writing this episode, I should say, it wasn't tomacco whenever they first started. It was actually more based on corn. I'm trying to find, I think it was like tobacco corn or something of that nature. And it was actually in the episode itself, you can even see in the background some of the crops are depicted to be more corn-like because it was a relatively late change, and it was suggested by Mike Scully's now wife, who was a writer at the time, Julie Thacker Scully, suggested tomacco, and once they suggested that, everybody just loved the way that flowed, and it became the central fruit of this episode.
Well, you see, Homer's mistake at first with the crops is not using Gatorade to water them because everyone knows you need to water crops. with
Fucking
Gatorade.
Brondo has what plants crave, bro. I don't know if you knew that, but it's true.
President Camacho.
I can verify that. As a doctor, it does in fact have electrolytes.
We see that, or I think at one point, Marge is like trying to make dinner with what they've been growing, and I think it's like basically tumbleweeds is all they have. More tumbleweed, Lisa?
No, thank you. I'm finishing
No,
my
there's thistle. There's thistle.
That shit hurts to think about. Like, ow.
Bart has a really good point. If they leave right now, they could still get to dinner at Krusty Burger.
Ooh, no, we can't go back. That would be the coward's way out.
Wasn't skipping town in the first place a coward's way out?
Shut up, boy.
He actually like freaks out here. He's like has a bit of a breakdown. You're right, I'm a coward. I made such a mess of things. If only there was some magic potion that would make these crops grow. Wait a minute. And that's when he decides to call Lenny, who's immediately like, Plutonium? Gee, Homer, isn't that kind of risky?
Pause.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's
And I love that you like. It's so great that you don't hear Homer in that part. It's just like, makes it a lot funnier to me.
They talk about on the commentary here too
Yeah.
that Lenny and Carl scene here they absolutely love, but they admit it has zero reason to really be in the episode. But they did find that at this time in the show that Lenny and Carl did almost start to take on that role a little bit. Also, arguably Family Guy-esque, where they're almost like just like a quick tangent joke, and then it goes back to the main plot.
Sometimes you got to just, send out some outgoing mail, bro.
Unfortunately for Homer, his quick growing crop plan of planting them with plutonium doesn't exactly work the way that he had hoped. But Marge even points out at one point that it takes time, though she is concerned that she's never seen a field glow like that.
It's eerily beautiful, but are you sure this is safe?
Of course not. But you know something? Sometimes you have to break the rules to free your heart.
You got that from a movie poster.
Well, when there's nothing left to believe in hope.
Where'd you get that?
From the producers of Waiting to Exhale.
Oh, shut up and kiss me.
I like that Marge actually notices that he's like rubbed plutonium on his gums. I guess
he gave himself a gummy with some straight plutonium.
Was he checking the quality before he bought it? Yeah.
I mean, that checks out. I didn't know you did that with plutonium as well as cocaine, but
But that is how we decided, or they decided, to end the second act of this episode, which brings us to the third and final act, where we're open with a rooster crowing, much in the manner that you would expect to find at a farm. Homer's excited to wake up because it's time to harvest some radioactive super crops. This is actually where Marge is like, it's only been one night.
That's all it takes. If you learned one thing from the amazing Colossal Man and Grasshopperus, it's that radiation makes stuff grow real big, real fast.
And glow.
Yeah.
But didn't grasshoppers kill Chad Everett?
Only because he was trying to reason with him.
That's a great name, too, Grasshopperus.
I love it. Great line.
Our new gamer tag.
This is where Homer is like, in typical Homer fashion, he's like hyping everything up for it to be incredible. You might want to crane your necks upward to save time. Ta-da! And there's literally absolutely nothing. Another tumbleweed goes by. Homer's trying not to panic, and he's explaining maybe it's possible that it's the giant vegetables are just invisible. And he's like feeling around his empty field for it.
Is this when he does like all the backflips and everything, which is fantastic, and I love that moment, or was that earlier?
No, that's it, and it's amazing.
Was it right here?
He's so limber, flipping around everywhere. It was fantastic.
It only takes one line from Marge. Oh, honey, just give it up. And Homer is immediately broken.
Oh, you're right.
Good.
By the way, wait, Dad, you don't have to kill yourself. It's such a funny line.
Better be good.
And it's from Lisa too, so you can tell he's like got real low expectation that it's going to be worth his time.
Well, Bart at first is like, "Let him go, Mom," when she's like, "Don't."
That shit was dark and yet perfect.
Also, like it's a yeah. Let him go and wait.
But what Lisa had to say was actually pretty good, because she actually is the first to identify a sprout had popped through the dirt, and more were after it. Marge was like, "What is it? Carrots? Peas? Maybe it's okra."
Who cares what it is? It's growing. I've saved the farm. Yay.
Miles, can you?
And he kills the plants that were growing by kneeling on them. Zach, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, will you, spoiler alert, tell us what kind of plant it is and do it in the cow's voice?
You guys know
I
what
want
you
one of
call
those
a
from
cow
each
with
of you in turn. Richie, go.
Do you know what you call a cow with no legs? Ground beef.
I see what you did there.
I don't.
Richie,
That's how you
Richie,
can
mute
tell, because
yourself
instead of
for 30
laughter, somebody
seconds
said
of
that's a good
punishment
joke.
for that. That's fucking terrible.
My brain's still figuring it out. Like,
I
what do you
love
want
watching
to say
that
to-
I would've
Chappelle
smacked
pulled
that-
where
that
everybody in
heart.
the audience in dead silence was like, "Oh my god, that was really funny."
Well, when I was walking down the street the other day, I saw 2 cows looking at me from the bushes. It was a stakeout.
Were you going to tomacco growl or just tell dad jokes for the rest?
I didn't hear Andy.
That's what you.
Andy's, whatever he said, I didn't hear.
I know.
We're starting a tomacco cow metal band.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just tomacco.
Everybody
It's
has
too
to
bad that you didn't
tomacco.
hear it.
No, I heard it. It was outstanding.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah.
So it's to me then. Oh, okay. Hold on. Let
You
me
need
do
to
my
go through your
breathing
scales to warm up.
Remember, yeah, from the diaphragm, Zach.
Tomacco.
Just like the cow.
That was
God damn.
awful.
I fucking hate you.
There you go.
Tomacco.
Andy, you got anything for us?
Oh well, I mean, all right. I gotta get up and look. It has the pop filter just for you guys. Tomacco.
Okay, now let's do it like the B sharps. Tomacco, tomacco, tomacco. All right, now.
No.
All right, let's
That's
get
enough.
back.
You said let's do it like the B sharps, but then you did all of it.
Well, I didn't remember what the fuck he was talking about. Like, I knew that was the
So Homer literally kills the plants like as soon as he discovers them by like celebrating too hard, essentially. But we get a montage of the plants sprouting. They're getting bigger and bigger, and the tune from Green Acres is actually playing during this the second montage of the show. I just realized.
Ba-na-ba-na-ba.
Bum, bum.
Mhm.
That's all you get.
It took more than a day, but the Simpsons farm is now full of what appears to be tomatoes. Like I said, corn in some shots, depending on where you're looking. Homer's dreaming about all these different types of ketchup his tomatoes might become. But then Bart takes the first bite of one and quickly spits it out, noticing that the inside is it tastes like cigarette butts.
That's odd. The outside looks like a tomato, but the inside is brown.
And Lisa is actually the first person to realize that perhaps the tomato seeds crossbred with the tobacco seeds. And Homer's like, oh, great. I've got a field full of mutants.
Gimme! I want more!
Meanwhile, Bart is already addicted to tomacco. And Lisa's even like, I thought you said it tasted terrible.
It does, but it's smooth and mild. And refreshingly addictive.
Addictive, eh? And this is where we see probably the most famous screenshot, I think. Probably what I'll use for the thumbnail for this and the most recognizable image from the episode. Homer is dressed as a cowboy, and he's got a like vegetable stand that says tomacco on it. Lisa's even impressed. Tomacco's pretty clever, Dad. I mean, for a product that's evil and deadly.
Thanks, honey.
And Marge is not crazy about the plutonium or nicotine, but it is nice to see Bart eating his vegetables.
Oh.
dude. He looks strong the fuck out. Like that's like a rough day for Bart.
He's having some issues for absolute certain
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
So this would be a good place to bring up that I mentioned on the commentary earlier, there was a guy on the commentary by the name of Rob Bauer who was introduced as a special guest. Rob Bauer was actually a college student in Oregon at the time that this episode aired. He happened to work in science or study in science where he had access to plants. And he actually, after seeing this episode, attempted to crossbreed tomatoes and tobacco, and he ended up being successful. He wasn't really sure what was going to happen, but essentially the results were he was actually afraid that the fruit of the tomato, because of the way fruits and vegetables grow, that there was a possibility that there would be a condensed amount of nicotine in the fruit to the point that he legitimately was worried it might be deadly. Yeah. But what actually ended up happening is he grew some absolutely delicious nicotine-free tomatoes. And oddly enough, when he crossbred in the primary, I'm not a scientist clearly, but like when the primary plant was the tobacco and it had the crossbreeding of tomatoes in it, it actually reduced the amount of nicotine in it, which he described as that was basically the tobacco equivalent of having sex in a wetsuit, where you had to go through all the motions, but there was none of the satisfaction. But it was just really cool that this guy did that, and it actually made enough news that it got back to the Simpsons staff, and the Simpsons actually reached out to him. He had come out and attended a couple of table reads, and then years later, when they did the commentary for this episode, they invited him back to discuss all of the fun things I just told you. The last thing I'll say about him is he actually had this idea based on the tomacco success in real life, that he thought it might be neat to attempt to crossbreed a tomato and a potato, in his mind thinking you would have ketchup and fries growing together, but it did not go well.
That is way better than the revelation that I have for this moment in the show, which is that Chief Wiggum wears his hat on his day off. He's got casual wear on. He's wearing a polo shirt. It's pink. It's beautiful.
Man, I wish I would have gone to college so I would have learned to make those possible observations.
But it's because they're about to tip cows. He's about to tip cows, so he needs some kind of authority to make sure it's okay and nobody comes over there to arrest him.
Is it wholesome or awful that he's taking his son out to tip his first cow? I'm not certain where the line draws on that.
So first off, that's a lot harder than people make it out to be. Like, cows just don't fall the fuck over. This is basically just
cows don't want to be tipped.
Fall down in the mud. Like, if someone is ever like, let's go cow tipping, just be like, no, I respect myself.
And also, like, I wouldn't, like, in this, like, weird Rick and Morty-esque universe where you somehow flip and cows become the dominant species, I don't want to get tipped over while I'm sleeping. Like, let a dude chill. It's fine.
Yeah. I was recently around some cows.
I thought the story was just going to end there.
That I now don't have anymore.
You paused for a second. I thought that was the end.
I saw some cows.
That's it. I was around some cows. No, but this cow was like I was wearing like a real like thick corded sweater, like it was really textured. And this cow was like rubbing on it, and it became very clear that this cow could like knock me over in an instant if it wanted to. Like the amount of joy it was getting out of like rubbing on the like my sweater sleeve. And then the owner of the cow was like, "Hey, stop it!" And the cow stopped it. But I have a newfound respect for cows, and I also think that they might be like insane. Like I think cows might be all screaming tomacco in their minds all the time.
I mean, I've seen like they don't always look the happiest of animals. So, and I imagine it's a rough life depending on where you're a cow.
No,
Bovine University.
Exactly. Touche. Well done. But yeah, we get Ralph is out there to tip a cow, but Homer is actually tempting him with the latest craze. Try a sample of tomacco. I love the line Wiggum has here. Go ahead, Ralphie. The stranger's offering you a treat.
Mm-hmm.
Ralph's reaction after taking a bite and spitting it out is, "Oh, Daddy, this tastes like Grandma."
But I love that Wiggum actually goes back to taste it. You're right. It does taste like
Grandma.
But immediately they're like, "I want more." Yeah, me too. And Wiggum doesn't know how to order, but he's like, well, we'll take a bushel or a pack. Just give it to me.
Yeah.
And he takes like the entire
it
basket.
should be noted, tomacco's price is $1, and he hands over like a whole stack of cash.
Let me buy some stock in that.
To the moon.
Hashtag stonks.
Even Even
Yeah, that's
1999
true.
money.
Even with
that's wild.
inflation, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Just think about
I paid $80 for a tarot card.
If I may, my usual moment, I would like to discuss how Ralph Wiggum is once again smarter than everyone around him. There's a returning gag I have going, Zach.
I think we called this the
gag,
philosophy of Ralph.
Yeah, the philosophy of Ralph. In any case, I would like to point out that as he tastes this fruit, his comment is that it tastes like grandma. And I want to point out that he is only noting the fact that all energy in the universe can neither be destroyed nor created. And that, in fact, the atoms that make up you are the same as the atoms that make up your food, are the same as the atoms that make up everything around you. So, in fact, on some small level, you are made of dinosaurs, and your food will always taste like grandma.
And your grandma, yeah. So, Zach, if you're paying attention, Zach, the pretension level has been raised to here.
Thank you,
You're going to want to try to beat that. You're going to really have to strive for it. So.
Yeah.
I'm trying to match it, but Andy and I have been playing this game for a long time, and he always has another level that I can't necessarily get to.
Andy, so he just called you the Cadillac of bullshittery, sir. That's impressive.
I mean, it's not at all true. Zach could win this if he wanted to, but he knows that you don't want to wield. You can't wield that great a power for. He's $5 up. Never mind.
Is that?
There's the drink you're pretending.
If that midpoint comes in, you're
I might get a 5.
And we still got a little bit of script left.
You're not a mathematician.
I
am not a number doctor.
All I'm saying is I'm not a professor anymore, so I don't have to play this game if I don't want to.
Like the Brady Bunch. They made that seem so easy. That shit's hard.
They did. Yeah, it's not. You have to really be focused because it's not where you think you'd look. I agree. Yeah.
I can point at Richie. That's easy.
I can point at Andy.
I also like that this scene here establishes this like very late in the game subplot that they throw in real quick, where Marge is like trying to sell her mincemeat pies with absolutely zero luck, while everybody's like addicted to tomacco. Her pies just sit there. Maybe because they're priced too high. I mean, you have to buy 5? You could get 5 tomaccos for a pie. It might be too much.
Is there tomacco in the mincemeat pie?
That's true. I also love, to get craft serious for a second, the idea of Simpsons sort of discards plots left and right. They introduce plots and they just let them go, right? They are a prime, I feel like they sort of taught me something about story writing, which is that Chekhov's gun doesn't have to go off, and sometimes it's more interesting when it just doesn't, right? When it just left by the wayside, right? Which this is a key episode of we're gonna zag, and we're gonna zag as hard as we
don't even live in
can.
Springfield for this episode, conveniently.
In a farm, which
is something they'll go back to, where they just kind of remove the family from their home base. They've done it. They've even done it already a couple times. I mean, probably the most infamous one would be "You Only Move Twice."
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But they're so good at being okay, we're discarding this.
Yeah.
And it's not frustrating because you're in on the joke. You know what I mean? Like they bring the audience into it in a really interesting way, which I mean, this is an article now, not a podcast episode, but I'm thinking about how do you tell a story in which you can absolutely defy audience expectations in a way that would be infuriating.
Yeah.
But
no, there's this thing you can do when you're being a real asshole, where you admit that you're being an asshole, and it gives you an extra 20% of asshole room. They do this in an episode of Family Guy, and it's one of my favorite fucking things of all time. Is there's an episode where Peter loses his job, and they get to the end of the episode, and he doesn't fucking have his job back. And instead of giving him his fucking job back in a brief instant or doing something dumb to just kind of get it back together. They walk out of the fucking room and they're like, hey, you remember that episode of The Honeymooners where he loses his job and he doesn't get his job back by the end of the episode? Yeah, that always bugged the shit out of me. And it's like, that's how they get away from the fucking fact that they have to do that. It's the same sort of move being pulled here.
Sure.
But it's something. It is the same kind of thing, but it's something beyond lampshading, right? It's not just hanging a hat on the thing you're doing that's dumb.
Word for that, you
it's also like knowing that the audience has
pretension level raised again.
Whatever. Yeah. But it's more than just I am putting a lampshade on the thing that is bothering you. It's that I have bought 11 years of goodwill to do this thing. You know what I mean? Like, I have bought 11 years of you, like, being on the inside of this in-joke of we're doing these dumb things and, like, we're going to zag when you think we're going to zig. And that's part of the pleasure of the show, which is what The Simpsons was like. This era of The Simpsons is so good at like having the first 3 minutes of
sometimes
the episode have
longer.
nothing
Sometimes
to do with
go
the
like
rest
the
of
entire
episode.
first act,
But
it's just like a completely different thing that has nothing to do with anything. Yeah.
I mean, literally, what the fuck is this episode about? If you asked any of us, we would have said tomacco.
Right.
That's what this episode is about. That's all in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, we're in the third act and we just introduced the like thing this episode is known for. Absolutely. And a lot happens still too, because like this is where the big tobacco essentially pulls up, and another just great line here where they're like, Homer, we're like the Laramie cigarette team, hop in, and Homer's just like, sure, like without even thinking about it twice. We also this is where you essentially get the traditional rift of Lisa versus Homer. Lisa is very much against the idea that they are like selling, addictive products to children, essentially is the idea here. But I love when it's like a Lindsay Nagel type character. It's not her though. But she's listed as Mindy in the script. She basically explains that they're in a bit of a pickle. Kids are crazy about tobacco, but the politicians just won't let us sell it to them. And Homer's totally on their team. Those dirty, rotten. I know. Tell me about it, Mr. Simpson. But there's no law against selling kids tomacco. That little M is worth a lot of money to us and to you.
How much?
Well, let's say $150 million.
100 May I speak to my family for a moment?
And actually, this is I do this a lot. Richie's going to call me out, but I think this next joke is my favorite joke in the entire episode, because Homer takes his family to the bathroom of this limo, or whatever it is. And immediately, instead of talking about anything important, it's straight to the T. He's like, did you see the way that Emil's looking at Mindy? I think something's going on there.
Okay, you missed my favorite joke that I actually didn't see until this very last time I watched it before. But they go into the toilet to talk, right? And because it's Laramie cigarettes, it has a smoking sign on the door to the bathroom, which I was like...
Yeah.
I love, though, that Homer's everybody's reaction to this is like, Homer, shouldn't we be talking about the $150 million offer? And he's like, oh, yeah, we'll take that. And then just move straight on. This is where Lisa,
I love the
of course,
tweets with,
this is where Lisa starts to protest that they're making billions off of people suffering and death. And that's when Bart's like, yeah, she's right. They can afford a lot more.
Lisa's like, no.
I'm with Lisa. Let's take them to the cleaners.
A classic joke structure that I feel like The Simpsons uses
every
a lot
single time.
You
with
never
Lisa,
get tired of this.
And it works every time.
Yeah, anything
like,
she points out, they always take it the
like,
polar opposite way. And she's protesting. They take it as an encouragement. You're right. That is more evil. We should do that. Homer tries to play hardball. He might have gone a tad too far when he comes back with a counteroffer of nothing less than $150 billion. He basically Dr. Evils himself.
Yep.
Or maybe and he's immediately thrown out of the. What's that, Rich?
Maybe he homered himself before Dr. Evil.
Did Simpson? No, I think Austin Powers was out at this point. But I'm sure that they got the idea from The Simpsons somehow, some way. That's it. Yeah.
Well, it's a movie about time travel.
Homer is thrown to the curb along with the rest of his family, and the real problem is the crops are completely destroyed. All of the animals have now been both destroying crops and getting very addicted to tomacco.
Dude, they look rough. Like the horse particularly is terrifying.
Isn't this all a Not a Living Dead shot here?
Very much so, yeah. Yeah, there's even the play and the way that they're defending the farmhouse and everything feels straight out of Night of the Living Dead. I think they're down to one plant, if I'm not mistaken, at this point. Or have they already lost it?
Yep.
No, yeah, they do have the one plant at this point.
Spoiler alert.
Homer is trying. Homer's trying to nurture it, protect it for the millions that it's worth. Lisa's still like, you're about to launch a terrible evil on the world. You've got to destroy this plant.
I know, honey. But what can I do as an individual? I wouldn't know where to begin.
He even destroyed the plants earlier on accident, but he couldn't possibly. Just burn the plant right now and end this madness.
I wish I could make a difference, Lisa, but I'm just one man.
Only one man.
Does
then Lisa growls.
Can I ask a question? Does Homer Simpson have Ted Cruz energy?
I mean, to be fair, as soon as his home was under attack as in himself, he did flee town immediately.
And I feel like if he travels back to town, he's going to be like, wow, Springfield's really nice. Not Cancun nice, but really nice.
I for sure feel like Ted Cruz has been walked out of a thing being hidden by an inanimate object that two people were holding. That has occurred in his life. I would bet $1,000 fucking dollars.
Yes. He is definitely
if you
stuck behind a podium and then had people move the podium out.
Needles are going to fall out, guaranteed.
They're always in your fucking feet.
We identified the Ted Cruz origin story, and it's terrifying.
That's almost scarier than him being the Zodiac Killer, which he still is. BS.
Absolutely. And actually, if you looked really closely in the background, you could see a letter cut out from magazine writings and whatnot here, declaring that the animals are now bursting into this home, which is what happens immediately afterwards. So it was really not much of a spoiler. But yeah, all the animals are like high on tomacco. A bull and an elephant come through the walls. They're completely surrounded, and it's like they're literally like circling in.
Petunia!
Marge is like begging Homer to just give the plant over. Finally, he does when he gets attacked by an ostrich. But as soon as he tosses the plant up, it is actually grabbed by Mindy, the Laramie executive. And Mindy is immediately like, oh, what a lovely gift. Gotta run. And she takes off into a helicopter that is waiting right there for her.
So, Mindy, how do you want to pay me the $150 million?
And we hear the slam door of the helicopter.
Cash will be okay.
And then we see the helicopter take off into the horizon.
Or stock? Does your company have stock? Mindy!
The rest of the family joins up, and Homer explains what's going on.
Mindy and I are just hammering out a payment plan. We'll talk Monday!
Aboard the helicopter, we see the executives of the Laramie Cigarette Company feel that they have gotten the better of the Simpsons family. They are celebrating their victory But the pilot notices a weird error. They seem to be carrying a little too much weight. And suddenly a crazed sheep pops up behind the seat and attacks
Hold on,
them
don't
all.
you dare skip the most important joke. Not the best, but the most important joke. Don't blame me. I'm on Sugar Busters.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
Such a 1999 joke.
Like, system or a meal plan?
Does anyone remember?
When we started pretending that eating carbs was bad.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, the new thing, carbs are great. I'm a doctor.
Right.
I'm way in on that.
Yeah. Zach will back me up. He's also a doctor.
I love more carbs.
I'm going to get you guys to sign a note for me.
I have great news for you guys. The pizza diet.
You should eat
what's up. You eat nothing but pizza and you exercise for 4 hours a day. I guarantee you'll lose weight.
Fair.
That is true. I did that when I was getting my PhD. I would eat pizza and go on a 10-mile run and then get in a hammock for the rest of the day.
Much of a balanced lifestyle you have. You're all or none. It's either like running 10 miles or laying in a hammock. No in between.
Well, you hang out at the most extreme poles you can, and at the end of it, you're doing fine.
That's why you have to eat the whole pizza.
Yeah. Right, and you have to vary your style. So you got to have a Chicago style, and a Detroit style, and a Kansas City pizza.
I think you made that up.
I know there's Chicago. I know there's Detroit.
No, I don't. The Kansas City Shuffle.
I don't know. But I'm down to try the pizza eating part. I'm not so good with the 4 hours of exercise. We'll see what happens.
Well,
I'll start with the pizza
it that way as
and
well.
Work my way into steps.
And in fact, I recommend it, but the results are a little less clear. That's all.
Fair.
Probably works the same. I think. I'm not a doctor. I mean, I am. But.
Yeah.
What has become clear for The Simpsons is this farming lifestyle is not going to work out for them if they do not have crops. But Homer realizes there's no reason we can't go back to Springfield. I don't even remember why we left. They get back.
Which is a massive flex. Like from the writer of the episode.
Guess what the fuck I can do? Watch this.
I don't care.
And we always talk about the Simpsons reset, and this one is a fantastic choice to go out on, especially when I reveal what the commentary left me with, which was a lot of fun as well. But we get back to the Simpsons home where the Colonel is, in fact, not only there, but like waiting with his pistol, like absolutely on board to do this duel. Isn't even practicing his pacing and turning at this point. No, this is they actually grab pistols, they start to pace, but Colonel
I say 8.
The Colonel is walking towards the car that Marge is unloading all of her unsold mincemeat pies from, and he immediately becomes intoxicated by their aroma. He's like, could that be a mincemeat pie?
It certainly is. Why don't you put down your gun and have a slice?
Oh, don't mind if I do.
Hey, are we dueling or what?
I love that Homer has the out here.
Hey, we're dueling.
Over. But he reminds his opponent that he doesn't want to fight in the first place, that they are, in fact, in the middle of trying to shoot each other.
Where are my manners?
This is where the Colonel actually shoots Homer on the opposite side of the heart. So he shoots him in the right shoulder. Homer does cry out in pain, though. They mentioned on the commentary that this is a comical shooting because there's no blood.
Except that the bone stopped the bullet.
Yeah, the bone stopped the bullet. I think it's fine.
Dad, this might be one of those things you should go to the hospital for.
Bone stopped
the bullet. That's not okay. If the bone stops the bullet, that's not good. You want to see it go through.
You want it all the way out. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We actually end the episode there. Homer's shot trying to eat pie. We get the credits roll to the B-52's performance of Glove Slap. And as this commentary came to a close, Mike Scully, I believe it was him, actually said, by the way, in real duels, a lot of people survive being shot in the arm, but died of infection later. And that's the end of the commentary.
Thanks, man.
Always leave them wanting more.
Wonderful.
And that does, in
Wonderful.
fact, bring us to the end of the episode. EI, annoyed grunt for Zach. Zach, is there anything else that you would like to talk about this episode, about the Simpsons in general? Just anything else that you had on your mind that you'd like to get out?
Simpsons in general. About a month ago, my wife, we were watching The Simpsons, as we are often do on a weeknight or whatever. And she pointed out to me that The Simpsons house is all kinds of wild colors. And I was like, no, those are normal. And then she was like, look at the TV, it's purple. And like, that opened something up in my brain that was just like, oh, everything on The Simpsons is the wrong color. Like, I knew that they're yellow, right? Like, that's obvious. But it's like, their house is purple and orange. Like, everything is fucking buck wild. And I never noticed this in 20 years of watching the show until she just said that to me. Just like, yeah, it's all weird colors, right? And I was like,
I think
no,
that's
it's
even
normal.
more prominent
like,
in the early seasons,
take a look.
actually. Like, when you look at, like, yeah. Yeah, the longer it goes, the more it tries to be like more of a reflection of reality, it seems. But early on, it was like abstract all the way.
Right. Yeah. Like, why is his car bright pink?
Just
and
let
I'm
me live in my
please
world of
stop
lies.
telling me these things. I can't handle it.
Let me believe the lie.
Yeah. I would 100% chew on tomacco if it existed. I would be outside in the rain right now having a tomacco. Because you can't have it indoors for some reason.
What about you, Andy? Was there anything else about this episode, or just anything since the last time we spoke that you wanted to talk about?
Well, about this episode, it really demonstrated to me that the model that I was even talking shit on the last time I was on. Like, the last time I was on, I distinctly remember saying, guys, I think we've crested the hill. Like, I think we're sliding a little bit. And you guys, but like, this really emphasizes that model can really, really work fabulously. And that in the right hands with the right, every little thing working right, like, it's kind of outstanding how little of a fuck they have to give. Like, they really can use all of that in a really outstanding way. And this episode pulls it off.
And like Zach had pointed out earlier, it's not like you can just do that from the get-go. They've earned their right to do this at this point, and that's a very important distinction.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That episode walked. The Olympics episode walked, so this one could run. It's true.
There it is. Last but not least, Richie, is there anything else about this episode you wanted to point out, brother?
Just that it took The Simpsons 22 minutes to do what took South Park multiple seasons to do a Integrity Farms episode. So, maybe learn something from that and kill a story when it's dead.
Kill a story when it's dead. Are you not excited about the upcoming?
I'm done with Integrity Farms.
That's fair. I'm still digging it.
But no, I appreciate that. Andy always picks an episode that I end up enjoying a lot more than I remembered. Not that I thought this would be a bad episode, but there's just always more in it with the jokes than I realized. And I don't know if you are doing that on purpose or if you just got lucky on this one. Hi, it's Emily.
Hello.
Just in time.
Oh, Emily's in the frame. It's Emily.
It was a lot of fun there. Like, I very much enjoyed this one. I mean, I didn't enjoy listening to Zach slowly get more and more drunk and yell at everybody, but it's just part of the territory. Who is this guy?
Well, she pointed out
Zach is going to be permanently part of the podcast from now on. He'll be back every week.
This is going to make the announcement. Well, Richie pointed out that it took The Simpsons 22 minutes to get what South Park has now done for many, many seasons. I will point out it took us an hour and 54 minutes to get through the 22-minute episode. So I don't
Yeah,
No.
Emily came in
It's because
here
we
to
have
tell me what time
two
it
English
is.
writers.
She assumed that the only reason this could still be happening is because I've become fucking temporally unaware.
Pretty much, that's accurate.
Yeah.
We got
I
two
thought
English
the world
professors in here. That's what's gonna happen.
not two doctors, right? That's
There's
what it
there's
is.
three doctors in the room now.
Yeah, I was about
Also
to
a
get there. We're
doctor.
doubling instead of reducing, we're adding to. That's our motto there. I don't have any. We have talked about this for long enough. I don't have anything else to say about this episode other than I really, really enjoyed it. But I do want to say, as always, Andy, always a pleasure having you. Can't wait to keep the streak going into the next season and beyond until we do inevitably tap out on this bullshit. And Zach, dude, such a pleasure having you. It's been a long time since we've talked about the poker table. This was a lot of fun talking over a Zoom call or whatever the hell, a Get Vocal call. Would
Way
absolutely
to push the brand there, Miles.
that.
So way to push the brand.
Yeah, thanks, man. Well, like what? They don't know what it is? Get over yourself.
I was talking about Get Vocal.
I know, but you get it. Regardless, Zach, thank you so much for being here. We'd love to have you back in the future. Want to come and talk about some of the other. Oh my goodness!
My
we got
pleasure.
an alert that we're going to stop recording in 5 minutes, but the room will continue.
They're fucking done with our asses.
Holy shit! Okay, so
2
that
hours,
means
this
we
one.
gotta do this quick, guys. You can buy Andy's book Down and Out. Where can you find that?
Over a 20-minute episode.
And Emily, you are talking over
She
the
knows-
plug for
she can't
Andy's
hear
book.
you,
How
but-
dare you?
That's
Let
why.
him sell a gun.
But it's fine and absolutely right. But yeah, you should buy my
Plug
book.
your book and anything else you want to plug quickly.
Yeah. You can find my book, Down and Out, a novel. It's out from Goldwake Press. Please look it up. You can find me on Twitter at @JAndrewBriseno. Yeah, that's what I got.
Hell yeah, thank you as always. Zach, what about you? Anything you want to plug? Social media project?
So you can buy my book, Liminal Domestic,
dude.
which is also a Goldwake book. That's we run in the same circles. I have another book coming out next year from Mason Jar Press.
What's that
So if
called?
you are listening to this in 2022, that's the book you should buy. I'm also on Twitter.
You didn't tell me that.
That book's
That's
called
amazing.
Lesser American Boys. I'm also on Twitter. Well, get on Twitter. I said it on Twitter. I sold that book. And then I'm on Twitter at YEAHPATHY, as in let's turn this apathy into some fuck yapathy. That's it. That's the whole thing. I will be here in my
Keep us
AC
posted, man.
basement
Keep us
watching The
posted if that
Simpsons
does in
until
fact
Bart
happen.
dabs.
You're absolutely on that episode, pre-booked. But,
If
there's
he does,
episodes
I will
between now
let
and
you
then,
know.
we'll
I'll
talk
be like, I'm
about one
free.
of those. Richie, we're getting real low in time. Do all of our plugs as quickly as you can, sir.
You can follow Miles all over social media at Mr. Most Days Off. You can follow me at @thewiz_kid23. You can follow the show at Best Darn Diddly. That's DIDDLY.
And thank you guys
We have
so much.
no books written by us.
We do not have a single
Losers.
book between us. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for
Movie
downloading the
Matthew is
show.
dissing us. Check it out.
What's that? Oh, did we
Movie
get this?
Matthew is talking shit.
We still are on.
We're about 1 minute left.
1 minute left. Yeah, so, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. All the people who download the show, share it, tell friends, all that good stuff. Richie and I will be back again for our next Simpsons episode that we're going to be reviewing, which is Hello Gutter, Hello Fodder.
But before that, we'll be reviewing Das Booty Call.
And until
Deuces.
next time, be cromulent to each other.